Hi, how are you? Welcome to the fourth and last in the mini series of Know Thyself, a way to learn basic chart reading. We've gone through the zodiac signs, planets, we've gone through the houses, and now we're going to look at the final component that makes up the chart, and that is the aspects, which is the relationships between the planets. So we're going to be looking at the planets and their placements and what they look like together and how they interact with each other. This is going to be a pretty basic, it can get more in depth, but we're just going to learn the bare bones of it so you can get started on chart interpretation. I'm going to share my presentation with you. Oh, here we go. Mm. All right, thanks for your patience. So the aspects. So let's start by looking at the chart here. This is my chart. I'm an Aries, so I like to talk about myself. So I thought it was the perfect opportunity to talk about myself by showing you my chart and sharing what I know about it and how I can teach you through looking at just this specific conglomerate of planets that is unique to me, how to read the aspects. So this is the chart. We're going to start by looking at these lines. So we've got these blue lines, we've got these red lines, and those are the aspects. So the red lines are all square. The red lines, mostly when you read it, when you see a chart, you'll see red lines or blue lines. The red are the square and the oppositions. The blue lines are the trines or the sextiles. And conjunct doesn't have a symbol because it's when the planet is right next to each other. So what we're going to start with is the conjunct aspects, where a planet is next to another planet within 10 degrees or less. So let's look down here at the chart. The moon is here at 8 degrees and Neptune is right next to it at 7 degrees. They are conjunct. They are almost right on top of each other. They are 1 degree apart. The 26 here, Uranus at 26 degrees, is conjunct with Saturn here. 21 and 26 are within 10 degrees. Actually, the 7 and the 26 are within 10 degrees as well, because each sign is 30 degrees. So after this 26, it would be 27, 28, 29, 30, and then you'd add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's actually 11 degrees apart. So it's almost conjunct. So not considered conjunct, but very close. So we've got Saturn and Uranus, Moon and Neptune conjunct. Those are two different conjunctions. And then we've got Jupiter and Sun are conjunct. They're 3 degrees apart. And we've got Jupiter and North Node conjunct. They are 7 degrees apart. And so those are 4 different conjunctions already in the chart. And then it looks like Mercury and Venus here are conjunct as well. No. Yeah, they are. Well, they're 11 degrees as well. So like the other one, very close, but no cigar. So those are the 4 different conjunctions in this chart. So what the conjunction means is that these two planets are basically fused together. They act as one energy and they need each other to activate. They need each other to work. So, for example, my emotional world needs to be very rooted in the spiritual because Neptune's all about spirituality, Moon's all about emotions. If they're conjunct, my emotional world is very much nourished by spirituality. There's no way around it. If my spiritual life is alive, my emotions will feel better. That's one example. Now, another example here is Uranus and Saturn. Saturn's kind of about work, responsibility, and Uranus is about like sudden changes and innovative ideas. So I might have a lot of new ideas coming in my work life or sudden changes in my work life quite frequently, and I do. So Jupiter and Sun conjunction are there. The sun is big and expansive and light and bright and vital. Jupiter kind of accentuates that. It brings more energy to whatever it's near. So it's like making the sun even bigger. So it's like I have double, triple Aries here because of those intense Jupiter sun energies, especially with the North Node. So if you ever see something conjunct in your chart, just it's noteworthy because those energies are acting together. If your Venus and Mars are conjunct, it's like your masculine and feminine like need to be on the same page working together. Um, if Saturn is next to Jupiter, that might be challenging placement because Saturn and Jupiter are opposites. If and so you need to find a way to harmonize to have them both active, even though they're opposite. How can they both work together? And the Chiron conjunct things can be hard, um, and Mars too. All of the destructive planets, like we talked about in the second class, Mars and Saturn. You can look for maybe accentuated challenges there if they're conjunct with another planet. So that's the conjunction, and this is the symbol for it. If you ever look at your astrology chart and you see the little chart where there's all these symbols. If you see that symbol, you know it means conjunct, even if it's not around anything else, that's what it means. And we'll see the other symbols as we move forward. So opposition this is the symbol. It looks like conjunct, but there's two of them. And there's no oppositions in this chart. So I'm sorry, there's no example here. But if anything, Mars and Pluto here are almost opposite. If Pluto is at 20 degrees of whatever, I think Scorpio, they would be opposite. But opposite means that there's tension. It's like a tug of war. One wants one way and the other wants the other way. So if one's pulling too hard, the other one's going to be down. Like it says, it's deficient. So they always need to be cooperating and balancing each other out and compromising. So that's just always something to note when there's an opposition, that there might be some tension there. And to how are we going to balance these energies? Give due respect to each side. Squares can be the most challenging, as it says here, like a big obstacle, but they're really amazing once you do overcome them. They provide like fuel for growth. So 90 degrees or 3 signs away is a square. They're two totally different energies. They're always going to be a different element, and they're just very and modality. So it's like, as it says, it's right in your face. It's just, this is a conflict, basically. This is challenging, and these two energies are not getting along. And so this is, you can see here, Mars and Venus are square. So the square is, you see here how Venus is at 23 degrees Aquarius. And then it goes, if you count 1, 2, 3, that's 3 signs apart. and that's basically within 3 degrees of 90 degrees. So it's 33 degree or 93 degrees apart. And that makes or it could be less. It could be, I'm not the best at math, sorry. It could be 87 degrees. I'm not sure which one at the moment. But that's the square. So there's another square here from the moon and Neptune, which are conjunct to Jupiter and the sun here. So the red lines here are squares. It looks like there's 4 here and 1 here. So 5 different squares in this chart. And Uh, I wrote here, use aspecting for therapy if needed, because I think it's so funny that I just learned about this recently, how to aspect, which is when there's 2 parts of you that have totally different views on something. And that's usually the personality of one planetary energy and the personality of another planetary energy. Let's use the sun and moon in this case in my chart because they're square. So my sun has one way of seeing the world, my moon has another way and they're very drastically different. So what you could actually do as a therapy process is to have 2 chairs, and I'm going to bring myself back in here so that just so that you don't get too bored of. So for aspecting, you have 2 chairs, and you can set up a pillow in each chair. And you're going to start in one chair, and that's going to represent one part of you, the part that has to do with that certain planet. For example, for me, there's a part of me that just wanted life to be super magical and just things just fall into my lap and have, just this beautiful serendipity, spiritual experience navigating through life. That's my moon sign. And the sun sign, or let's say the sun sign was like, this isn't working. Like we need to make something of ourselves. We need to be seen in the world. We need to make money for ourselves. We need to take action for our dreams. We can't just wait around and just let them fall into our lap. And so what I did was I had 2 chairs and I let those 2 parts of myself discuss it and have their say. And so you literally sit in one part and speak as if you're speaking to the other part of yourself, and then you switch to a different chair and you speak to that part. You respond to what that person just said and you share your perspective, and then you go back and forth until you can find a compromise or find a resolution or find some kind of mutual understanding, because if there's conflict, you don't really get each other or understand each other or want to. But the point with this is you want to learn to understand each other and get it and see where the other's coming from so you can work together more. So that's some advice I have for you to navigate your challenges and conflicts within, because they're going to be there, and it's really important to have these tools just in case that persistently comes up and you can't get out of it. Like if you've ever had a conflict, you know that sometimes you need a mediator or you need some help. So let me go back to the thing. So that's a square, and you'll always see this, it'll be a red thing, 3 signs apart. Trine is the next aspect. Um, the trine is the longer blue line here. So I might have said this in the beginning, but there's trines and sextiles, and squares and oppositions, and there's also a quincunx. Those are the 5 we're going to talk about today. There's other aspects, but we're only going to talk about these 5. And trine, we've talked about the 2 red ones. Now we're going to go into the 2 blue ones, which are trine and sextile. Trine is the longer of the blue ones. It's 4 signs apart, and they're always going to be the same element. So if you had something up in here in Leo and you had something up in here in Aries, they're going to be trine. If you have something in Leo and Sag here and Aries, that would be a grand trine, which would be really beautiful. And what it is when the harmony of these two planets, they're working together really well. The energy flowing between them is very harmonious. They're accentuating each other. It's graceful, it's fluid, it's easy. There's innate gifts, there's good karma. Just, it's really easy. For example, for me, I have Pluto here and it's trine Mercury. So Mercury is all about communication. I have a really easy way of writing and communicating my deeper feelings and insights and my, just how I experience the world, my soul's experience. And that's Pluto. That's a lot about my soul, and a lot of like the power that emanates from the wisdom of my soul comes through in my communications there. So that's how that trine works really lovely. And I think that's the only trine in my chart there. So some people might have a lot more. Um, so whenever you see that, it's something to note that's like, this is a gift that you have that you might not even be aware of that it's a gift because it comes so easily to you, but you really want to be aware that it is something unique and special to you, and that to keep using it and to keep offering it because it's something that you have that's really needed and valued. So yeah, keep a lookout for your trines and see what they mean and how you can interpret them. Next, we're looking at sextile, which is the shorter of the blue, which is 2 signs apart. So we've had the 3, which is the square, the 4 apart, which is the trine, and then there's just 2 or 60 degrees apart is a sextile. Now the sextile is a softer aspect. It doesn't show up as boldly as it does the others, but the sextiles they are there, and they're definitely important to be experienced and looked at as a reservoir of opportunity, which I love that saying. And again, like the trine, innate gifts and blessings, and it requires more work than the trine to activate. So it needs activation by effort. So looking at that, like, how can I really put my, some massage this part of myself so that it comes out more. Um, yeah, and I'm working on that right now. Just by when I was researching or remembering what I wanted to share in this class, I delved more deeply into the sextiles in my chart, and I was like, wow, that is so amazing. I'm actually doing that right now, and I didn't know that. Back when I first learned about sextiles, I was like, those don't mean anything to me. But now I'm like, wow, that sextile is really getting activated right now, and I'm so stoked about it. So different times in your life, there's going to be different parts of your chart that are being triggered or activated or worked on. You can't work on everything at once. So what I love about astrology is it helps me to see what part of me is really being called forth at this certain time in my life. So yeah, question, food for thought. What part of your chart is being activated right now? I'm so excited to do a transit class one day where I can show you how to read the transits. But if you want to get started now, you can just go on this astro.com and it's pretty clear. It says include transits on the button when you're looking at your chart, and you'll see on the outside, you'll see the green planets, and those will be where the current planets are. And you probably saw that also when I showed you your chart. And that is also a really important thing to look at to see what current planets are triggering your natal planets, because there's always definitely energy there, especially the planets that move slow that would only pass this part of your chart once in your lifetime. Like, that's something to really look at. But we're not talking about transits today, but I wanted to just kind of give you a little plant the seed that there's more to learn. And this is just kind of scratching the surface. And yeah, give you a little break from all this geometry. So yeah, next is inconjunct or quincux, which is 5 signs away or 150 degrees. And it's this symbol right here. If you're looking at another document where it just has the symbols, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like this Mars and Saturn are quincunx in my chart, which means there's discord, it requires adjustment, it indicates challenges in work or health. Um, Mars, quincunx, anything is a health issue. So there we go. There's some health issues right there for me. Yeah, look into what that could mean for you. 1, 2, 3. And keep going. So I want to teach you how to discover your lunar phase. The phase the moon was in when you were born. You can look this up on the internet, like what phase was I born in? Plug in your birthday just like you do when you're getting your astro chart, and it'll tell you. And that's what I did when I first looked it up. But there's a way to actually calculate it. And since we are talking about all these numbers and degrees in this class, I wanted to actually teach you how to do it so that you could do it for your looking at any chart without having to go like depend on the internet to tell you. And this is also going to help you with reading the chart in other ways. And we'll go back to that after I'd explain this. So everyone's born with a different, the moon was either full when you were born, or it was waxing, or it was last quarter moon, or it was a new moon. And this has a big impact on your psyche. It really shows like what type of energy you're working with in this life, like what you're, yeah, there's big differences, and there's the waxing energy and the waning energy, and they're both very different. And so some might be more of like a newbie, like new kid on the block, how are we doing this? That would be the waxing energy. The full moon energy is really different than anything. It's like being a full human being and all the challenges that come with being human. And then the waning is more about like letting go and wisdom and kind of more mystical, spiritual things. So this is a preview into what you could learn about. I have this book. I got this right here from this book called The Book of the Moon by Stephen Forrest. Stephen Forrest is one of my favorite astrology authors. So I highly recommend looking him up. I'm sorry this is backward, but you can read and hear that it's Stephen Forrest. And he is, yeah, so the moon phases are described in this book. And if you get a moon reading from me, I'll read you the whole chapter on your specific phase. You could probably also look for it online if they might have the resource. It talks about waxing and waning energies. And so I'm going to show you now how to do it on your chart. So step 1, and this is going to help you with other ways of looking at the chart, which I'll explain. So what you're going to do to find your phase of the moon is to always find your sun. So I found the sun, it's right here. And then you're going to spin the sun. You're going to like pretend you're putting your finger on the sun, and you're going to spin it counterclockwise or to the left. And you're going to spin it to the left until you meet up with the moon. So for me, here we would go sun, and then it would go this way, all the way around to the left, hit the moon, you're done. So you're not done though, because what you needed to do in that situation is count the degrees. So I would count it by 30s because every line basically you're passing 30 degrees. So it's like 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. Or you could just go straight across and know it's 180, and then you'd keep going with 210. My math is being tested here. 210, 240, and then 270, right? That's another 30 degrees. And then you'd count like 270. It's not, um, I'm pretty sure it's like 275 or something because it's not all the way to the next 30 here. So 270, yeah, I'm pretty sure mine's somewhere around 270. So that's the degrees at which the moon was in relation to the sun. And that means I was born under a last quarter moon, because if you look back at here, 270 to 315 right here, the phase 7 was last quarter. So that's my category. And the reason that this works is because you find the slower moving planet and you trace it to the faster moving planet, because the moon was going, everything in this chart, in as it's literally alive in the sky, like this is just a snapshot of one moment in time, right? So the next day the moon is going to be over here. It's going to keep going to the counterclockwise, right? In this instance, it's to the right, up, and then to the left. So the moon travels like this. The moon travels faster than the sun, as we learned. It travels through each sign every 2.5 days. So someone born about a week after me would have their moon conjunct the sun, and it would either be a new moon if it was a little bit past, or it'd be like still in the, what is it? The waning crescent. If it was anywhere between 315 and 360, it would be a different phase. So on the way to being new is coming up to the sun, which is closing out. And then once it passes the sun, it becomes new and it's in a whole new phase. And that energy is very different. The energy of a planet moving away from a planet once it's conjunct is very different than a planet moving towards that slower planet approaching conjunction. So it means the cycle is either ending or it's a brand new cycle beginning. And the planets affect each other in that way. There's like a fresh energy or like an old kind of wrapping it up energy, learning more deeper lessons energy. So that's something to be aware of in the chart. And you can do that with any relationship of the planets. For example, let's see if I can find one that would work that I know of. Okay, Jupiter here moves faster than Neptune. They're square, and so Jupiter is going to be the one that's traveling, that will be able to track more than Neptune. Because if we track Neptune, it would go really slow, and Jupiter would kind of be following it, and they wouldn't ever, I don't know when they'd meet up, but so we need to look at when Jupiter's gonna come around and meet up with Neptune. Another example, and so if these are square, Neptune is, or Jupiter is, as it, Jupiter has left its conjunction with Neptune and it's going around. So it's 90 degrees new. So it's like they were conjunct back here, like however many years ago. That would be like, what is it, 2 years every sign for Jupiter? No, 1 year. So like 3 years prior to my birth, Jupiter was right here. and now it's moving away from Neptune, and so it's like at its first quarter um placement. But if Neptune was over here, like 3 square still, but 3, 1, 2, 3 signs away up here, it would be different because Jupiter would be then approaching Neptune. Um, and it would be closing in, so it'd be at the last quarter phase. So I'll probably do a whole nother class on the waxing and waning energies and what they mean so that you can more further interpret that. And but just to be aware that those could be different energies and kind of just feel into, because we are intuitive beings, right? Feel into what that might mean if they're separating and going on a new journey, or if they're closing in on each other. So that's one little advanced teaching I wanted to share with you. If you didn't get that, no worries. It's the main thing is that I wanted to share is that you can look at any chart and you'll know what phase of the moon this person was born under. For example, if the sun here was up opposite, so my moon's in Cancer here. If the sun was up here, no, sorry, my moon is in Capricorn down here. If the sun when I was born on this birth chart was up here in Cancer, that would mean I was born under a full moon. If they're opposite, that's what a full moon is. If they're square, like I said, it's either a last or first quarter. And then anything in between, you can refer back to this and see what does it mean if I was born at, say, 50 degrees with my sun away from my moon at 50 degrees, then you would know you're born under the waxing crescent moon. And I just love to know that because then since the moon rotates so fast, I love to say, oh, the moon's waxing crescent right now, 40 degrees. This is how it was when I was born. And it's usually a really special and auspicious time for growth and just feeling really good because that's how it was when you were born. It's like your moon birthday. And I love that. You get one every month. And alternatively, you could go backwards and just find the space in between these two and then subtract that number from 360. So basically, if I found the degrees, my sun's at 1 degree Aries. So if I went 1 degree Pisces, 1 degree Aquarius, a little less than or a little more than 1 degrees Capricorn, so that's what 97 degrees apart, I would subtract that from 360 and I would get my degrees. What's 360 minus 97? That would be my amount. And that's just another way to do it. So yes, math, astrology involves math. I'm not the best at math, but I'm learning to be because it's so amazing. It's like the language of reality, and the the time space that we live in is all about math. So it's cool to play with the numbers and get to know it from that angle. So let me know if you have questions in the comments about any of this. I'd be happy to answer it for you. What's next? I don't remember. Is that it? I think that's my whole presentation. I think I wanted to show you another chart just to like show an example of what it might look like. Like this is Gandhi's chart. And he's got a grand, a T, what do they call it? This is an opposition where it's opposite, where we didn't see that in my chart. He has a grand trine here with his moon and Saturn and Neptune, which is the blue lines. And then there's another grand trine here with his north node, looks like, and this other planet here, asteroid. I think that's might be Pallas or someone. So yeah, this is just another chart. So, it gets really deep here with he has his sun over here, but there's all these other planets and they're playing together and they're doing all this stuff. So yeah, his sun is in Libra, but there's so much more about him. His moon is doing this with his Mars and Venus, and it's opposite there's Pluto and Jupiter, and it's like there's conflict and intensity, and it's pushing him, and then he's got this beautiful Neptune supporting his moon, and his moon supporting his Neptune spirituality and his passion, and so there's just so much to look at in a chart and to view, and so over time you slowly get to know more and more about yourself or others. And I just wanted to show you another example of how to do the moon. So my chart was very different, but so like I said, we find the sun and we trace it to the left, or in this sense, it's down and up to the right, but counterclockwise. So we're tracing the sun all the way around, and we get to the moon. So that's like way more than 180. Probably 210, 240, 270, 300. I'm so bad at math, so I'm going to do it backwards. 30. So he has a last quarter. I'm pretty sure he has a last quarter moon, but it's close. It could be in the waxing crescent. So you got to do the math to see what it is. But you know that it's closing in. The moon's traveling to the left, as all the planets are traveling to the left, and the moon is coming up to the sun to close out to become a new moon soon. So it's got about 20, 30 degrees or so. No, 40 something degrees until it's new moon. So that would be 360 minus 40 is like 3. Let's go back to here. 360 minus 40. It might be waxing crescent. That'd be like 320 something. So yeah, he might be a waxing crescent moon, even though, yeah, I don't know. It's somewhere in between. So that's where the math comes in. My brain doesn't do math instantaneously like some people's do. But yeah, that's the majority of what I wanted to show you today. And I'm gonna stop the screen share. Yeah, so Stephen Forrest, I highly recommend. He writes a lot of books. He has The Inner Sky, which is like all around great book for this type of stuff. I've also got the Book of Neptune. So he's got like really detailed, like a whole book on just Neptune. It's pretty wild. So you can learn a lot and go deep into different energies. And I've learned a lot from evolutionary herbalism, or the School of Evolutionary Herbalism, about the health stuff. And I've learned about a lot of this other, like what we were just looking at was Kai Pacha's course on evolutionary astrology. And there's other teachers like Raquel, who's really great. She's on Instagram as I am Raquel. I'll try to remember to write this in the notes down below, and just so other people you can learn astrology from if I don't have my courses up, but you're like ready to learn more. But I am gonna hopefully teach more and continue providing resources where you can learn more basics and more advanced stuff too. I just have to re-look at all my notes and compile it for you. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me and being interested in learning more about yourself and your the energies that live inside you. And I really hope that you can, yeah, use this as an empowering tool to know about yourself and help other people understand you, help to understand yourself and what's going on inside. We don't always have the tools to do that, but I know astrology has been a great tool for me to understand some of the crazy stuff that goes on inside, you know? It's not always easy. And many props to you if you're already activating a lot of your astrology just naturally. That means you're in the flow of your life and you're doing great work because you're already embodying your soul and making sure that, yeah, and just, yeah, embodying the energy you came in with to express. And that's what we want. We want this uncovering and letting our soul lead and give what we came here to give. So this is just a great confirmation to you to keep learning, keep learning about yourself, and um, helping others learn about themselves, or yeah, using these tools to greater understand life in general, and or incorporating them into your business that you do. So yeah, let me know how you liked this class. I'd love to hear from you, and um, we'll be in touch in the other realms of the internet, and I look forward to sharing more with you. Thanks so much again, and have a beautiful day. Aloha.